So before we discuss what is a pre-referral process, let's discuss first this thing. Referral for evaluation and special education services begins by identifying students who have additional and who may be at risk for developmental disabilities. So, referral for evaluation and special education is the very main focus in this thing. Why we need to study referral for evaluation and special education? Because in this, we have to identify students if that students may be referred to a pre-referral process or a special education. Referral for evaluation is that we have to think by those identification from our students through our evaluation and giving assessment to them, and through that we could able to observe if the case of the student is maybe referred to a pre-referral process. So special education is very familiar to us. Special education means those students who need special attention from a special instructor. So we have to think first by identifying our students. Is why it is very important to observe and identify students with additional and developmental disabilities for us to know if the case of the student may be referred to a special education. Let's proceed to a pre-referral process. So in this, we could able to explain further for us to understand why is it important to understand and know what is pre-referral process. So by its definition, a child noted to have significant difficulties in relation to expected competencies and developmental milestones may be referred by parents and teachers for observation and assessment. So if you are a teacher and you are a parent of the specific child who first notice that your child has a significant difficulties in relation to expected competencies. When we say competencies, it is about academic performance in school. And developmental milestones may be referred by parents and teachers. So the parents and the teachers are the ones who notice first about the significant difficulties or the situation, maybe the case of his or her child or children. So, in this, it is very important that you are a parent or you are a teacher, you have to observe your child or your student. So, by observing your student, you have to give him or her an assessment for us or for you to measure about his or her mental abilities, maybe his capabilities when it comes to competencies according to the academic performance when it comes to school, or maybe the developmental milestone, how this specific child maybe develop his capabilities and abilities when it comes to developmental disabilities. So the question is, why we need to study pre-referral process? Is that we need to study pre-referral process for us to understand and for us to know if the case of the child may be referred to special education or maybe to a referral for education. So, in this case, by giving an assessment to the student, and by that we could able to measure about his or her capabilities, about his or her mental development. In that case, by giving her assessment, we could have an observation through measuring the student. So, in that case, we could able to evaluate our students or to make a judgment if that kind of student or that specific child may be referred to a pre-referral process or to a special education. So, a team of professionals or a pre-referral team is comprised of special education, teachers, counselors, administrators, and psychologists who collaborate to determine reasons for the observed challenges according to Halahan et al. 2015. So, this team or pre-referral team is very important when it comes to education because they are the one who collaborate ideas, opinions to determine what is the reason why this child is struggling this kind of situation when it comes to developmental disabilities or competencies according to his or her academic performances. So, they are the one who are going to determine what is the main reason. That's why team of professionals is very important in education. So let's proceed to Taylor 2009. So So Taylor 2009 provided an assessment model that begins with a pre-referral process. So Taylor 2009 begins or provide an assessment begins with a pre-referral process. So that's why pre-referral process is very important to measure and to identify if a specific child needs a pre-referral process, which is an additional support according to his or her needs. Children with noted developmental delays and difficulties are identified through observations and use of norm and criterion reference tests. So those children that we have noticed who has a developmental delays when it comes to their mental, physical, so they need an observation from us or from a teacher or a parent by giving them a reference test to test their mental capabilities and developmental disabilities. To test if this specific child needs a special education or he just needs an additional support from his or her parents or teacher. So Taylor 2009 explained that the initial step is to determine teaching areas where a learner will benefit from additional support through a variety of means. So Taylor explained that the very first step is to determine teaching areas. Because sometimes it is not about a learner or a student who struggle to understand what a teacher is trying to discuss or explain, but also we have to determine how effective our teaching when it comes to our students to become more effective and efficient. Because there are learners who are struggle to learn because there are many types of learners. So there is slow learner and there is a fast learner. So those slow learner, they need an attention or they need a proper and clear instruction from their teachers. That's why they don't need a special education. What they need is a additional support to meet their needs when it comes to their developmental capabilities. So, teaching areas where a learner will benefit from additional support through a variety of means. So this means that you are a teacher and your students needs an additional support by giving him or her clear instruction to be followed from what you are discussing or what you are portraying to be understood by your student as a teacher. So that's why it is very important to understand also and to determine also how our teaching areas is effective and efficient when it comes to learning and educating our students, especially those students who have developmental delays and developmental disabilities. So let's proceed to very young students who are at least or suspected to have additional needs may identify through community-based testing. So in this case, by identifying our students, by determining and identifying when a child or a children needs a special education or a pre-referral process. In this case, if by measuring or through our measurement, if the child did not pass to that measurement that we are expecting for them to come up, if the students could not pass that measurement, so this is the time that we have a judgment or we make a judgment that this child needs a special education. He needs a special attention. He needs additional needs through a community-based way. So let's go back first to a child through a pre-referral process. So first in here, it says that we have to evaluate our students. So in this case, we evaluate our students by identifying those students. So again, who are those students who needs to be evaluated? Is the students who had additional and who will be at least for developmental disabilities. So in here, by evaluating our students, first, we should observe them. And how we should observe our students? By giving them assessment. So in that case, by giving assessment, and we could have an observation so that we could able to measure if the students could pass to the measurement or to the average score, maybe higher or lower. So if we could able to measure that the student would pass and has a higher grade when it comes to our observation from our assessment. So that student maybe just need a pre-referral process. He don't need a special education. What he needs is just additional support. So in here, again, let's have a short recap. These are the team of professionals for the pre-referral team. So we are the one who give an ideas to determine what is the reason why our students are facing these challenges, which are the developmental delays, developmental disabilities. They are the one who collaborate ideas. Overall, this discussion means about the child going through a pre-referral process for us to know if the students needs a pre-referral process or a special education. So by this explanation, by this discussion, we could able to identify that in a pre-referral process, students just need an additional support, not a special education. And thank you for listening, and that's all my topic presentation for today.